I am of the view that we are now located at that moment in the historical process when that mastermind, that evil mastermind of the end time, the Antichrist, of whom Christians are well aware. I don't have to introduce him. In Islam he's called Dajjal. Dajjal because he deceives. Like 1907, I think it was, or 1909, if I'm wrong, please correct me, when Britain and France embraced Russia in an alliance. Was it 1907? 1907. Embracing Russia in an alliance through the front door. And between 1907 and 1913, forging with Russia an even greater embrace by offering to Russia Constantinople, because that's the heart of the Eastern Orthodox Christian world, Constantinople, after Jerusalem. And so this is Dajjal from the front door. It must have taken a lot of time to plan the Bolshevik Revolution. It must have taken a lot of financial planning as well. It must have taken a lot of skill in bringing about alterations in the economy. And then came that moment when Russian troops were poised to kick Constantinople. It's just down the road. And that was what was promised to Russia. And it was at that moment in October 1917 that they struck. For whatever other reasons, this is the one I'm concerned about most of all. To prevent the Russian troops from taking Constantinople. So they offered you Constantinople from the front door, and then from the back door they stabbed Russia. That's Dajjal, the master deceiver with a PhD in deception. Our eschatology, which comes out of the hadith of the Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, and on which I based my book, Jerusalem in the Quran, tells us that Dajjal will pursue his mission through 3 stages. His objective is to establish his rule over the world and then to claim that he is the true Messiah, when he'll not be. He'll be the false Messiah. In stage 1, he attempted to rule the world from an island. This is our eschatology. And I identified that island as Britain. The Salafis, of course, have come after me. But my identification of the island as Britain has stood firm. And the world of Islamic scholarship out there has not been able to refute me. And so now we have an explanation from our Islamic eschatology. We have an explanation. We want to know what's the explanation that the political scientist has for the emergence of Pax Britannica out of nowhere. Our explanation is this is Dajjal's phase 1. And in phase 1, not only did Britain become the ruling state in the world, but more importantly, Britain ruled money. That the control over money, the control over the monetary system was vital for achieving rule over the world. And so came the sterling pound. And then we saw a movement of change or transformation from Britain to the United States. It didn't happen overnight. And Pax Americana replaced Pax Britannica. Why did this happen? What is the explanation? We listen, we're waiting for an explanation from the political scientist. But our eschatology tells us that this is Dajjal in phase 2. And in the same way that in phase 1 he had to have a monetary policy, so too in phase 2 the dollar replaced the sterling pound. And Bretton Woods was used to demolish Britain as an empire. And our eschatology tells us that Pax Americana cannot last forever. No. In fact, Pax Americana must last for a much shorter period of time than Pax Britannica before it gives way to a third and a last phase or stage of Dajjal's mission. I have identified it as the movement from Pax Americana to an attempt by Israel to replace the United States as the ruling state in the world. We are conscious of the fact that Israel already has every single American politician in its pocket. You cannot succeed as a politician in the United States if you stand up and utter one word against Israel. You'll be finished, demolished. And if the United States is today the ruling state in the world, and Israel is already ruling the world from behind the curtain or the hijab. But in stage 3, Israel has to come out from behind the curtain and emerge as a successor to the United States of America. And therefore, the US dollar will have to be demolished. That demolition job is not happening by accident. The US dollar is being consciously and deliberately demolished in order for the petrodollar monetary system to be replaced by a new monetary system controlled by the banking system in the world, which is also under Israel's control. And so from these two perspectives, Israel is already well on its way. But Israel will have to wage great wars, because Britain did and the United States did. And that's where we are now. That's where we are now. If Turkey were to invade Syria, as I have expected it to do for some time now, I'm surprised it has not happened as yet, then the countdown will begin. When that countdown begins, when the wars start, then I want to say that Russia's moment in history would have arrived. Russia's moment in history, like no other moment before it, would have arrived. This is Russia's historic moment in history, when these great wars start. Because Russia has a role in the end time